To everybody, and welcome to March 25th, 2021. My name is Jared. This is Engineering the Markets, and let's get started. Okay, so yesterday, another day of pull up in the market led by some significant selling into the afternoon session. SPY overall having a relatively threatening look as we are starting to lose areas of support that we built on Monday and Friday. We had our doji candle breakout from the doji, not enough bullish volume, not enough momentum, and we saw 2 days of selling taking us to the low of this doji. So overall, the SPY is putting in a pullback from the recent low to high move. And what we are seeing is that this pullback is being met with selling at the downtrend resistance. 4-hour time frame should iterate that. We're seeing quite a bit of heavy selling into very muted or just overall not significant pullbacks. So these downtrend resistances are holding, and the SPY is currently threatening a support zone, which is going to be our channel. For those unaware, we have a very straightforward channel trend line, support and resistance, and we are threatening that in this pre-market session. So the SPY has done something significant as of yesterday. We have lost the VPOC. And this is the VPOC over anywhere from the past 30 days to about 45 days. I could expand this out, and value sits around 389.50 to 390. I keep bringing this number up because this is where market participants have deemed value to be balanced in this ETF. They believe that transactions can be done here with fair pricing. And you can see that through some of the price action whenever we hit this value zone. There's a lot of up and down, basically a overall equilibrium of price. And then we'll obviously get moves away after the transactions are done. What we're seeing now is that market participants are moving away from value and therefore trending away from value, leading us into higher zones of value to the downside. So we have a shelf right here, and we're right at some support in pre-market. You can see a tiny lift up candle starting to form. We do have a shelf around 383, and that's going to be our VA low. And then from there, we'll have to look at higher time frames to see if there's any significant support zone before we hit something like 375, which was a notable area of interest before we made the significant bounce. Shortest time frame, 10-day, 30-minute. The idea here being that VPOC is sitting around 394. This is the same as yesterday. The thesis is that if you get an area of interest for a bounce, you're going to be targeting things like the VA low and the VPOC. These would be sort of counter trend plays in the sense that you're looking at higher time frames to find a bounce. And obviously, if you're doing the opposite direction, you're looking for a higher time frame resistance, and you're fading back into a shorter time frame value zone. So very short-term plays, usually over the course of 1 or 2 sessions, but overall things that you can perform on and can actively trade against. So SPY not looking so hot to the upside. The Qs are also not giving us any love. We had a very drastic selling day yesterday. Bearish volume did come in. So we see that elevated volume yesterday. And we are starting to now threaten the range that we've been sitting in. Just connecting very rough daily candles, we can see that the bounce attempts have been smaller, and we have to keep coming back to our support zone to find very shallow pullbacks on this tightening area. One What that means to me is that that support zone is now at risk. If we keep having very shallow bounces and we keep respecting this downtrend, the potential to lose support is there. 180-day 4-hour, we can see, the rough daily trend line. I could draw it a little bit better, but overall it's just an area to consider. Go ahead and move it so I can actually mess with it. Okay. I'll just draw it something like that. Yeah, and we're actually starting to crack in pre-market this area that has held for many times. A lot of market participants are deciding that they're willing to hold this, but now we're threatening it after shallower and shallower bounces. So right now we're not looking so hot. I think if we were to see a bounce today, we would once again have to target something a little bit more shallow, and that would be this downtrend line. But ultimately, the momentum is to the downside at the moment. 30-day 1-hour, looking at where value sits, 316, very similar to the SPY. We've lost the value zone. It was sitting in the middle of the range. We were willing to sit here for a few sessions, but we've obviously moved away from that value area. And what I'm seeing is that there's not a ton of value support sitting below us. So a loss of this area would not only be significant from the range perspective, it would also be significant in that I wouldn't expect a lot of this to hold very well unless we formed another consolidation period. So if we had more time to build up this value, then that could be something we could play against. For now, it's not heavy enough to mitigate the fact that we've lost this entire area and we're starting to threaten the lower end. And then 10-day, 30 minutes, because we haven't been at these lower prices in a while, I think this is likely a misprint right here. You can see that there's simply not something actionable from the value perspective on this this time frame. We are once again at a support zone, but the thesis would be on momentum, the target would have to be the VA low. And that really just brings us to the high of pre-market. This is more of an intraday sort of setup if we were to come back above the level. So this would be a very aggressive counter trend sort of play. IWM. This market does not look good from the bullish perspective. So we have seen not only multiple days of selling, but the selling has accelerated. We're getting larger and larger range bars. And what I'm viewing this as the potential for an opportunity because of the accelerated selling. Typically the bounces will also be of interest if we can get some sort of capitulation in this market, basically have everything be to the downside at one point and then all of a sudden switch gears. It can provide a really good risk to reward if you can find the right spot to do it. But right now, the tradable action is to the downside. It has been for a few days. We're starting to lose any semblance of bullish trend support. So we've lost the upper trending channel support. We've lost the downtrend that we formed before the bounce, and we've lost 215, which was a notable shorter time frame area of interest. You could see it marked here and here. We've actually lost that in yesterday's session, and we're seeing continued selling, leading us all the way at risk of these lows, which was the idea that we brought forward in that this market is relatively aggressive. It has some higher risk assets in it, and the selling that can occur here is more sensitive to some of the catalysts that we've been seeing, things like a rising dollar and things like a falling yield. So, a rising yield. So that said, oh no, sorry, I did state that wrong. Things like a falling yield because of financials. This is a heavily financially weighted market. So, really any entry here would have to be playing the low that was put on this significant bounce. It's a very aggressive entry, and you'd be targeting things like 215. So you'd have to decide if that sort of trade action makes sense to you, and also if that risk to reward makes sense to you. To me, looking for a little bit more confirmation is probably ideal, given that we are starting to waterfall, and these capitulation moves can be a little bit more treacherous than you might think, even though we are at support. We've obviously lost any moving averages. We're actually threatening a deeper pullback now, all the way to the daily uptrending support. Let me pull it back to the 5. So back to the COVID lows, we've had multiple tests, and we're way up here. So the threat is a pullback all the way to this area. And that really wouldn't bring us back to anything of interest after the all-time high breakout. So, I mean, this pullback would be a major correction, but it would be still a bullish overall look. We're still in a bullish area of interest. So 30-day 1 hour, just real quick, we'll look at value sitting way above us. We are in free fall. We're trending away from value. This is what happens when you leave value. You start to accelerate to the downside or to the upside. And the fact that we've lost the VA low means that a lot of market participants who thought that value or who placed value above are now having to hedge, having to stop out. They're basically losing any semblance of their bullish value zone. And if they were bearish, obviously, they're starting to take profit at this point within this perspective. And then obviously the shortest time frame, we'd be looking for a bounce off that higher time frame 210 area. We're seeing a little bit of a pull up right now, but definitely want to see that occur into the intraday session today. So ultimately, a lot of volatility right now. The ranges are starting to expand. And what this means is we're going to have some very whipsaw potential for days. You'll have large moves to the downside, potentially followed by large moves to the upside. So obviously, if you're not willing to trade that type of price action, either intraday or in a swing trading perspective, it can be advisable to be patient, look for really good risk to reward opportunities, and then start to slowly edge back into the market, whether it be bullish or bearish, because this will be a relatively volatile period as we start to lose support zones to the upside. Some things that occurred yesterday that I found interesting. I'm going to pull up certain sectors at this point just to quickly discuss risks that we noted. So communications was a great sector for the short term to the long side. We had stocks like Facebook really starting to break out, really giving us nice momentum. We had stocks like Google holding some of their higher areas of interest, their value zones to the upside. But there was a risk inside of this sector in stocks like Viacom. And we pulled up a chart of Viacom to showcase that some of these parabolic moves, while great to the upside, have a lot of downside risk whenever they finally do crack. And this occurred both yesterday with a little bit of selling maybe on Tuesday. I think yesterday was sort of the actual downside risk. And then if we look just intraday or pre-market, we're seeing more selling. So this was the risk to the sector. We had a lot of great momentum in the stronger market cap, the higher market cap names. But inside of this sector, there were some bombs about to go off in terms of some of these stocks that had just gone parabolic. So that obviously hurt the S&Ps, that hurt the NASDAQ to some degree. And really what it does is it carries forward into our strong names, because as a sector ETF, if you're holding a blend of communication names and all of a sudden one of those names starts to sell aggressively, the sector ETF has to balance the fact that that one name is losing market cap relative to the weighting of the ETF itself. So the market, the owners of that ETF holdings, the ones managing the actual name, the actual ticker, they will have to sell their asset holdings in order to facilitate the difference in market cap. So they have to keep things weighted a certain way, and that adds pressure to strong names, and it facilitates weaker names being weaker than normal. So, Facebook saw some of that hurt yesterday. It saw some of that topping action the day before, and then the pain came in on the pullback. Stocks like Google, once again, holding up pretty well, but we did see a little bit of selling. This name really hasn't cracked down, but ultimately it's not very strong to the upside either. It's just kind of churning right now. And then if we dig in, we can even see stocks like Charter, CHTR. Actually not too bad. That one actually held up pretty well. Let's see if I can find a better one. I guess Facebook was kind of the notable one, maybe Netflix, and we'll look at Verizon. But let's look at Netflix. Netflix saw some of that pain yesterday, maybe coupled with the NASDAQ selling. And then we see stocks like VZ actually holding up pretty well. So, the overall sector has some shining stars in it, but the underlying risk of stocks like Viacom that actually brought a little bit of more selling to stronger names. Surprisingly, some of these names actually held up pretty well. Financials still trying to basically pull back. We haven't really seen a good bounce yet. We're actually threatening losing the 20 on the daily, and we're putting in some weekdays overall with decent volume. Now, this kind of dovetails into something that also occurred yesterday that's worth mentioning, and we've been carrying forward a thesis that has basically been proven wrong as of yesterday. The idea was that if the yields are up, then financials and energy could be strong. They could have strong intraday plays, and they could have strong overall swing potential. So rising yields, financials like it. We also noted that tech does not like a rising yield. It puts pressure on tech. So the opposite, we postulated that would be true for the time being. We thought if if the yields go down, financials will be weak. Energy may also be weak. Industrials will not perform super well. That all three of those have been true, but we postulated that tech can carry the weight of the losing sectors. So, that rotation of, yes, these sectors are weak now because of rates, but tech should be able to pick up the slack. And that leads to a little bit of sideways action in the SPY, but you can play the thesis in things like IWM should be strong with financial strong, and maybe biotech as well. NASDAQ should be strong if tech is strong. So back and forth with the SPY somewhere in between. What we saw yesterday is that yields went down. So financials should not have performed super well, and they did not. But tech also went down. So now we are seeing a thesis that is starting to break down. We're seeing a correlation that is no longer very strong for us to carry forward. It is a a potential for all of this to be lost, and the market is now saying no longer do we care about rates, we care about overall weakness across the entire S&P. That has been coupled with a rising bond market where we have ETFs like the TLT putting in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 trending days in a row, making higher highs and higher lows off of a low point, and basically showing no signs yet of a pullback. So we've had, this accelerated move from this low point, consistent overall volume, although dropping as we reach the 20, and we're losing our correlation in the market. The thing that was basically the big headline news of rising rates leads to weak tech or weak consumer discretionaries or weak growth or whatever risk asset you want to call it. Now we're seeing rates fall, but risky assets are being sold. We have biotech, huge red day yesterday, very similar to the IWM. We have, let's see, it's XLY, huge selling day yesterday with rates going down. So we're really starting to, our breakdown of why do we want to be bullish in this market is starting to fall apart. We even saw things like the dollar, which I brought up yesterday, as another risk to this market, and the fact that, asset prices on a weak dollar are going to be strong. They're going to be elevated because the dollar representation and the overall viewpoint of a weak US dollar reflects itself in strong commodities and strong equity prices. That is starting to change as well. We're seeing momentum in the dollar as this starts to break out. So moving forward, we need to be flexible to the possibility that this market is starting to shift under our feet. Things are starting to change. We are no longer seeing the type of momentum with the pullback buys into highs, and then obviously, just multiple trending up days in a row. We're not seeing that simplicity in this market. There's a lot of range trading, and there are certain asset classes that are giving us opportunities to the downside that are much better overall from a risk to reward perspective than being bullish. So, kind of I would say, like, instead of buy the dip, fade the rip or sell the rip. That has been in play in certain sectors, and it's starting to show itself in our strong sectors too. And that is a concern. We want to be aware of that in case this starts to get really, really bad. Not to fearmonger, not to mention the potential for the market to start to roll over. It's just something that we need to actually postulate as a thesis. It needs to be part of our trade plan. Some ideas for today, I think, are still going to exist in areas that maybe have good risk to reward if we see bounces. We're at a point now where you're kind of selling into the momentum. So the potential for very strong pullbacks against you is there. If you were bearish, I think at this point you should have been selling at resistance zones, not necessarily selling into momentum without the potential for risk. But if that is still of interest to you, then you can play the bounces. And obviously at this point, if we continue to see selling at resistance, you can just kind of play that back and forth action until the market shifts again, either into another range or into maybe a curl back to the upside. So we'll see how long this persists. Ultimately, opportunities abound in some of our key names. Stocks that I'm watching right now, on this weakness are things like Tesla. Tesla gives great opportunity both to the upside and the downside. And when you look at the short time frame, we're actually starting to crack through and potentially even back test what was a significant daily low, 619. So, the opportunity here is that, if we're going to continue to see weakness, we could sell some of these pullbacks and get some of the follow through to the downside. We could also look to see if buyers want to step in and basically show us a false breakdown. That could give us great opportunity to the upside. You're looking at multiple dollars worth of potential range in this name. Let's see, stocks like Amazon, maybe not a day trader's potential, but from maybe like a swing or an option perspective, we noted the fact that Amazon had this range. And what we're seeing is the rejection from the range and follow through on yesterday, basically some sort of engulfing sort of setup. You could easily play the top end of the range and maybe target the low end of the range, especially if consumer discretionaries are weak. If you're bullish, you could be looking to sectors like utilities. Utilities throughout most of this selling have held up pretty well. We've seen a very significant move higher, a very shallow pullback, and what was a buy setup has actually followed through pretty well, even amidst the market starting to sell everything. If the market gives us a bounce, you could expect utilities to maybe outperform on the strong days of the market, the intraday plays or just swing opportunities inside of utilities. And I would say something similar to real estate. Real estate has had a really strong push off of the 200 moving average on the daily and has really just pulled back to the 20. So we have sort of a bullish trend, 20, 50, 200 on the daily. And we're seeing pretty good follow through with a potential buy setup on real estate. So, opportunities are there for the bullish and the bearish side. And then if you're a range bound trader, look for things that are giving you clear ranges to play against. Things like Amazon, potentially Tesla as well, given that we have some daily levels to potentially look at. So, overall, that's kind of how I'm perceiving moving into the next couple of days, is the flexibility to be long biased in certain areas, short biased in others, and then some areas are just not giving me the opportunity that I want to take advantage of. So I just disregard or just monitor those areas for better risk to reward. Let's see, I think the final thing I'm still kind of watching is things like energy. I haven't brought it up yet in a moment, but we did see a major pullback in energy. And this is once again a pullback to areas that we've seen in the past act as resistance, turn support, and really, significant bounce points on these parabolic moves. So, a pullback in energy can act as a buying opportunity if you perceive this as such. The opportunity is still here, and this is more on the overall inflation thesis. The rates will likely continue to go higher over time, which could be beneficial to commodity prices. It could be beneficial to financials once again, but some of this noise has to clear itself out of the market. So with that said, that's pretty much it for my time. I'm going to go ahead and leave y'all with a couple things to think on, but ultimately we have some things starting to break down. The thesis of strong rates leads to weak tech, and strong rates leads to strong financials. That is starting to shift. The weak rates are now leading to weak financials and weak tech. We'll see how long this continues, whether the correlation ever comes back. But at this point, we want to remain flexible, potentially even cautious in terms of position risk. If you're looking at this market as a little bit of a chop fest, maybe consider sizing down or looking to stay in cash until the opportunities actually present themselves. So with that said, my name is Jared. This is Engineering the Markets. We're going to shift it over to Carlos and Norm for pre-market prep. Take it easy and have a great Thursday.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the pre-market prep. I hope everyone's having an amazing morning. Hope you had a great day yesterday, and hope you're enjoying this morning session by Jared, Engineering the Markets. Good morning, Norm. How are you doing today?
Hey, good morning, buddy. I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. Enjoying these interesting market times we are in, guys. Let's get to some of the stuff we had on our list yesterday, starting here with AMC. So AMC was one that was very active in the pre-market action. Let's take a look. Let's get our 5 minute here so we can see yesterday's intraday. Here we go. So again, pretty decent pre-market action, was actually looking very good. And again, we all know the story about yesterday and a lot of the sell-offs. AMC was, I think I said AMD by mistake, but AMC here did popped up, and you can see here it just slams right back down, and then basically a short the entire day, guys. Great opportunities at the open for a nice drop here. Then from here, you got a beautiful kind of pullback towards the moving averages, couldn't hold, and then just grabs onto the 9 and the 20 and just continues to drop. And then around 2 o'clock or so, this is when we start to see continuations of stocks that just continue to sell off. Again, market having a lot to do with that. Look at this beautiful drop into AMC here. And Norm, you might be right. This AMC might be worth a penny by the time we're done with this. This thing is just dropping very fast and very hard at the moment. CAN, another one, guys, that dropped very well.
Just to clarify, it wasn't me. That was just an analyst with a crazy price target. Not zero, 1 penny.
1 penny, that's right, 1 penny. So here's a CAN, guys, another one that again dropped very, very nice. This was great to see yesterday. Beautiful opportunities here, great pullbacks to the VWAP, and then nice continuation. And again, this was the story with a lot of stocks out there. INTC, same situation. Gave you a pop at the open over that 67, 66 level that we had on the daily, and then just collapses here nicely. And then another collapse around 2 o'clock again. We got a second wave of that. CCL was one that was horrible, and I'm so glad I did not pay any attention to this one. This was just complete chop yesterday. Again, at 2 o'clock, you got the drop that a lot of stocks just couldn't hold any longer. But throughout the entire day, man, this is probably one of the worst stocks to look at. Compare how everything else was trading, right? VIAC, this was amazing, beautiful drop from the gates, was very weak out of the pre-market as well. They were down quite a bit. If you look at their daily, you can see how much they dropped, and they opened up at 85 or so, and it closed at a 70. So again, taking a 15, 14 points hit here. Pretty nasty there on VAIC. And then we also had Apple, which also sold off pretty well. So again, a lot of opportunities towards the short guys, short side yesterday. And today already the SPY is looking very, very interesting, and some stocks continuing this sell-off. So it's going to be an interesting day, that is for sure. Norm, what's the latest and greatest on the SPY and the overall markets?
Yeah, we just had some big numbers come out. So first and foremost, Q4 GDP, we had come out at 4.3% versus 4.1 expected, so a little bit better than expected. Jobless claims for last week came out at 684,000 versus 730 expected, so also a little bit better than anticipated. And then where's my, sorry, I am somehow I have lost my continuing claims number, but that's not quite as important as those other two. So like you said, and Jared went over this, but I'll just touch on it. This recent weakness we saw, particularly in tech and in the Qs, which were helping financials a bit, but really hitting some of these high-flying tech names, was in large part attributed to a very rapid rise in, especially in bond yields. Specifically, the 10-year is what people were looking at the most. That has started to recede and pull back, and we're still having this weakness. But we're not having, we're not the what was propping up financials was the increase in yields, and we won't get into why, but don't have time for that. That's more of a Jared conversation for that first half hour. But that was helping financials. They're weak, which is, kind of normal considering that, but you would think tech would pick up, and it is not. So, a couple of these days here, we've kind of popped up and then sold off. So interesting spot we're sitting in. It's going to take a little bit to figure out which direction we're going to take. That's kind of where we're sitting. All that having been said, I already mentioned the two numbers. Three numbers that came out at 8:30. We've got Fed speakers scattered throughout the day. There's one at 10:10, at noon, at 1 p.m., and then one tonight after the market's closed. But also we have the tech CEOs, I believe it's Google, Twitter, Facebook, testifying in front of a House committee today. So people will be looking at that. If you're in those, I don't think that'll overall. I don't think it'll have a massive impact on things. But if you're in one of those names, you could get movement here or there because of anything that's said there.
Yep, absolutely. Definitely interesting week. It has been for sure. We look forward to see how that's going to affect the markets and those specific stocks today, especially in the tech side. All right, guys, let's get to it. Let's remove our list here from yesterday. We'll make some new rows, and not a whole lot today in our gapping up list, as you can see here. We got a little bit more, a couple of low flow stocks and some regular ones. Let's look at SSNT this morning. Let's do that again. Here we go. SSNT. This one is up 15.9. I definitely do not like what I'm seeing here so far. It's got great value, 1.5 million. Low flow stock sitting at 1.7 million, but this is just really all over the place right now. So we have to wait. I don't think I even want to wait for this to get better. Right now, their daily's also very, very wacky. Again, we've seen better low flow stocks, even with great volume, trade a little bit better. So I'm going to keep this on the side, guys. If it gets better, throw it back out to me. We can definitely take a look at it. SINO, this one has been
earnings this morning, by the way, on that SSNT.
So, yeah. Okay. All right, cool. That could be interesting, but still not looking great.
I agree with you. I'm not a big fan of the chart, and really something like this needs cleaner volume and better order flow. And that spread is horrendous.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't even look at the spread. Yeah, that is brutal. And again,
on
guys,
a $7 stock, 20 cents is a lot.
Yep, that is massive. And on days that we've seen lately, where actually regular stocks that have great liquidity, Apple, AMD, all these other stocks, that we've been watching lately, when they're moving well, you don't really need to focus on stuff that looks like this, right? You can have opportunities elsewhere. CYTH, 3.8 million. This one is only 130,000 shares traded, but it's just starting to get going at the moment here. Yeah, it just popped up. So let's give it a little time. We'll come back to it. Looking decent right now, though, as far as
4 million share float.
Yeah, it's lower float. Yeah,
I don't see any fresh news, but maybe I just don't have it yet. So
yeah, okay, we'll keep it on here. We'll come back to that one. LITE, not a low flow stock. This one is up 5.8. My concern with this one is the spread right now. You can tell on the daily, very, very light volume, guys. 2.2 million shares on the daily, usually not a great daily as well. I think we've seen this one before too. We might have traded in the past. I don't remember. But either way, right now it's not looking great, guys. 111 up 5.6. Their spread is just too bad at this point. SINO we did look at already. 14 million shares flow. Again, just not looking too good here right now. Okay, let's see what's gapping down this morning. As we see, we have a laundry list right over here. A couple of low flows to get started. We'll move through these quickly. W key here. Yesterday popped up pretty good. Let's take a look how that traded. Again, let's just look at the market open. Nothing. And then later around, seems to be 1 o'clock, you get this crazy breakout here. So maybe a couple opportunities here, but typically not the stop I like to watch, especially sitting at 0.3 million shares flow. Pre-market does look interesting here. You do have some movement, but just not for the type of float that it is. The LNP, I mean, I won't touch this. I don't care what's happening with this. This is just too risky for the way I trade. This is just.
I'll
just
tell you, I traded that yesterday.
Did you touch this?
At the open, and it was Andrew did too. I was kind of surprised, but if you pull up even a 1 minute chart in that first few minutes of the open yesterday, my lord, it was a nice little pop, and I got in it for a scalp. That's kind of how I do these often. But man, so I took it long. It was like 29-ish, and I got it up, sold above 31. And I literally sold when it hit VWAP right there. And
Right,
and about 2 seconds later, it was $28.
I'm glad you did, man.
I mean, I just wiped the sweat off my brow and locked my montage and walked away.
Yeah, they are tough, guys.
That was scary. That thing was moving $1.50 each direction, and it was doing it a little bit. I mean, it wasn't too irregular, and then it got nasty.
Yeah.
So anyway, worked out, but it was scary.
Yeah. Very, very careful with this one, guys. I'm not gonna add it to my list this morning. Although, how's the volume right now? Let's take a look. Yeah, it's not
much volume,
great.
frankly.
No, yeah, it's not great. And also, second, third day of these pops and these low flow stocks are not great, guys. So be very careful. You're not gonna get as much volume. Notice the first day you got great volume here. Second day you still got great volume, 54 million. That's great volume for this low flow stock. But it tends to start slowing down quite a bit and becoming a little bit more choppy on the way down. So very, very careful. And then you also have a lot of fake outs. So keep that in mind. Here's Riot again. All the Bitcoin plays taking a huge hit.
You got
yesterday.
Bitcoin down like 7 or 8% this morning, right around 50 grand.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's dipped below that this morning, but they're getting hit on this for sure. The NFTs, the Bitcoins, the high flyers.
Yeah,
taking nosedives this morning.
They are getting slammed, guys. I liked CAN out of all of them. I did trade this one yesterday. It turned out to be really nice. And we do have shares for sure with IB, which is great. Riot, you usually do not have. Mara, sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. You do today. But yeah, actually Mara looks good too. They both look good. I like CNA. We CAN, and we talked about this because the way they was on their daily, right? This area here, losing that possible support, and it did that very, very nicely yesterday. So I'll keep an eye on CAN. We can watch Mara as a backup as well, but I think both of these you could pick either one that you like there. All right, so that takes care of that. Zkin, I'm not gonna look at this again, dropping here. These are not fun on the way down, so we'll skip on this. Mara, CAN, EBON, EBON here. We are down 11.5, 745. Pre-market action is okay. Maybe a possible. We'll come back to that. Again, there's going to be so much stuff moving today with the way the markets are. You can really watch some of your favorite stocks that are probably not in the top here. These are down, significantly 9, 10, 11, 12, 16%. They might be sitting down here, down 6, 5, 4, 3. And today they could trade very well. I mean, this list is massive. We're not going to get through everything, obviously. We'll do a few more here. XNet. Wow, XNet. This was a good buddy. They're down 9.2, 109,000 shares traded right now. Not looking too good pre-market, so we'll skip on it. TIGR, let's take a look at two more. This one, for the most part, pre-market action does have some volume. Not great pre-market action, though. That could get better, hopefully. Here, the 5 minute looks a lot better there. So 295, down 8.4. Yeah, it could be interesting. I like the daily and the support that we are losing here right now at 16. So that could be nice. We'll put that on there, but I'm sure we're going to find something a little bit better this morning. Let's move this over a bit so we see Mogo. Last one on the list for now. Mogo is, I don't like the volume. Doesn't look good at this moment. Norm, what do you like today so far?
I'm still looking, brother. Let's go to the
Okay.
room.
All right, let's do that. Let's start with Prince Trader. You are giving us PLTR, and let's take a look. PLTR this morning. What do we have here? Pre-market action looks great on PLTR today. They are down 3.1, 8.1 million shares traded. Yeah, I like this one. It's got great volume today. Again, they can be brutal at times. We'll put it on here for now as our main one. We can always remove it if it gets crappy later down the line. Neo, let's take a look there. What's going on with Neo this morning? Neo, again, Neo, I like Neo today as well. Let's take a look at that one, looking very good. Again, we got these stocks around 3 to 6% down that got slammed yesterday that are very active. So you do not have to go with the ones that are dropping the most, right? These 15, 12, 11, 10, and 9, they're not looking great. They don't have great pre-market action. The daily's not exciting as opposed to a Neo. This is a beautiful daily, beautiful drop here. We got some good key levels towards the bottom as well. So Neo is definitely on our list today. What else do we have, guys? Moving up here, we have Neo, RAD. Let's take a look at RAD today. What do we have there? No, I don't like the volume on RAD right now. Nice drop, 15.3, but the volume is pretty crappy at the moment. So it could get better, guys, but for now, I'm going to keep this one off. Hold on a second. I just got to take this from...
They had some, I believe it was Rite Aid that had earnings. It was either Walgreens or Rite Aid that actually got kind of smoked on their earnings.
Yeah, this is definitely down nicely today, 15.
Or it was, I guess it was guidance. I peeked at it. I'm not a huge fan of trading this one, so I didn't dig in too much. But yeah, they're saying that people aren't getting the flu and buying cold and flu products, and they got kind of nailed on it.
Spice dropping. Yes, we see that. Neo is on deck. Michael, American Airlines. Let's take a look there. Yes, this is also taking a nice hit this morning. We can take a look at that. Like a lot of stuff is, right? We'll have to be very picky today. APOP, what do we have going on there? They are down. I'm sorry, up. I'm so used to saying down. They're up 38% after being up nicely very early on and just kind of giving some back this morning. 7.2 million shares traded right now, so pretty good volume. Let's take a look at the APOP float here, 3.5. Yeah, this could be a nice low flow for today. We can add it right on here, APOP. We'll come back and take a look. Again, selling down a lot at the moment. So let's see if we can find some kind of bottom here. Again, as high as $8 right now and now back down to 483. All right, American Airlines, we do have APOP is good. Do you mean Walmart, WMT? This one is, again, it's not a great intraday trading stock, especially when they do not have news, unless you meant WM, and this one doesn't look even better. So we'll skip on that one for now. But just confirm what ticker you wanted to see there. VIAC, this was amazing yesterday, guys. I think everybody took a trade on this one towards the short side. It was very nice. Today they are down 5.8. I think it can be a good one for a secondary play. You got to be careful with the number of shares. The spread could be about 30 cents at times. So you got to be careful with that. But let's put as a secondary. Again, huge drop yesterday, guys, on some news. And then I'm sure the market fueling the drop even further with things coming down. That could be interesting today to see what's going to happen here. Possible continuation. PLTR we do have on deck. Neo is selling off. That one's good. Jimmy, you got your list there. I'm going to take just one from here because I think all of these we have. We'll take CCIV and plug. CCIV this morning. The down 4.4, 976. Yeah, we can take a second look at that. And let's look at plug. What do we have here? Plug this morning, they are down. Yeah, plug is interesting. Down 5.1, 518. I do like plug today. Let's put that on there. That actually could be a main one this morning. That's looking very nice. Let's put it up here. Plug, there we go. And let's remove this from here. Excellent. All right, so that's good. QS, I don't know if QS is going to look too good today. Let's take a look. Yeah, their pre-market is decent. They're down 8% this morning. The way this trades, though, I prefer to watch like a plug, like a Neo. I think these zones are a little bit better. Be careful with this one, guys, on the spread and also on the movement. It can move a lot on here. Right now, the spread is about 20 cents. It can get better at the pre-market, actually more than that, because you can see here, there's very light volume right now at the moment. So if you like this one, keep an eye on it. I'm gonna keep this one off my list. I think there's some other ones that I'd rather watch this morning. CCIV, we do have Billy. Let's take a look there. What's going on with Billy today? Billy's losing it. dropping nicely here, down 5.7. I like how clean the daily is on Billy too, right? You can see here we lost this previous day closed like 95, which is close to the pre-market high. Is interesting. I do like Billy today as well. Let's throw that on there. Again, a lot is going to look good in the pre-market with this drop that we're getting. But if you could find a nice clean daily like this one too, it just makes things a little easier as far as putting levels, you know. Go ahead.
They had a IPO or a listing on Hong Kong Exchange that it's kind of like a secondary, just in a different market, so dilutive. And then there's also some talk again about delisting Chinese companies. So,
that's very, very interesting there.
1-2 punch.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Definitely want to keep an eye on that. Here's XPEF. I do have Neo on deck already. You can watch this one also. Just don't want to pack it with the EV stuff on here. So I am going to just watch Neo for now. But you can't go wrong with XPEF too. This looks very, very good. Neo has a lot more volume at the moment. I do love their daily as well. Let's take a look. Oh, so you meant WM. Yeah, so WM, you're not getting no volume here. Daily looks like it's getting to take off here. What's this? This is... and I think this is what VMware. Oh no, Waste Management. Okay, yeah, they're not the best day trading stock. Even when they do have news, these huge companies, guys. Again, they don't move well at times. You can see here the volume is very, very light. You're just not gonna get great movement, you know. So it's a nicely giant stock that doesn't move a whole lot. Reminds me of a little bit of KO. I mean, I have a long-term position in KO, and KO just doesn't move. Right, I'm in it more for the dividends, which is great. But look at this; it just doesn't move, no matter what happens, and it's just not a great intraday trading stock. Like I would never intraday trade this unless there's some serious news. WM is kind of like that too. BA here, guys. BA right now they're down 1.2, 207,000 shares traded. It's been taking a hit over the last couple of days. Could be interesting. We're right in the middle of this gap. Well, a little bit lower than this gap up that we had a couple of days ago. Just slightly below the middle area. It could be okay. I'm not sure about it. Let's put it as a possible. We'll come back to it. We'll review it again. Let's head on down. What else? Nike. I know they had earnings a couple of days ago, right? Wow, Nike's down 5.7. That's a nice big drop for them, especially after dropping yesterday again. Look at the area of support they're losing here. I just wish they were a better intraday trading stock, which they are not. You know, they're brutal. They're very, very choppy. I don't know. Can today be a difference?
I will 100% agree with you. And they had some bad news out of China. We'll just leave it at that because I'm not going to dig into it. But it's another noisy behemoth and doesn't trade intraday very well.
Yeah, I mean, I love this drop,
except
guys.
in very rare circumstances you can get some clean moves, but.
I'm going to put it on here for now just I probably won't be focused on it, but let's put it on there for now just to look at see how it does here. Just because I'm interested to see how much further this thing is going to go down. That's a big drop already this morning after a couple of red days in here. So they're losing a very key area of support too. If you look at this 133, 32, 90, that has been great support in the last couple of months. So we'll see what happens. All right, BA's daily. Yeah, BA's daily looks good. I'm not sure about the pre-market action right now compared to everything else. Let's do a few more here. DSCA, DISCA. No volume on this. So I'm not liking that right now. PIRS. This looks like a low flow stock, but their pre-market action doesn't look great. If it's not a low flow stock, it still doesn't look great either way. You slice it or dice it. 51. Yeah, this is not looking good at the moment. It looks like a block trade really for the 1.5 million. I don't see a couple of not a block trade, a couple of trades here, but it doesn't look good to me right now. So careful with that one. I don't see a lot of movement there compared to like a APOP or a CYTH where you got some action there. HWC, HWCC, excuse me, missed a C there. This one is up 40%, 1.9. I don't like the pre-market action. You got this one pop and it's just moving sideways with volume, lower price stock. What's the float on this? What we are looking at here, HWCC. We are looking at a 15. Yeah, so lower flow stock, which would be nice.
It's a buyout.
Oh, it is? Oh, yeah, so you're not going to get, that's not going to be good for that. We'll skip on that one. All right, guys, let's do a few more here. CCL, what do we have?
Especially if you're new, you might see buyout and think that it's something that would be a catalyst. But it's actually the exact opposite. sometimes you can get a little bit of movement if there's a lot of stock involved in it, as opposed to a cash deal. But, and I don't know which one this is, I'm just looking. But I mean, what it does is it essentially just brings the price to around what the offer is of the transaction, and it just sticks there. You don't get any movement, which is what we need or what we're looking for. So,
yeah. Absolutely. CCL guys this morning, again, they were horrible.
And that's an all cash deal as well on HWCC.
Okay.
So even worse.
Yeah, even worse. Not going to get that movement if there's no stocks involved there. This one here, guys, it was just so bad yesterday. So again, I'm not sure about it. Maybe I'll take a look at it again today, but yesterday just didn't trade very well. Today they don't have great volume neither. 772 for the way where things are moving. You expect CCL to really crank it up, 1.7 or something. But we'll see. Let's see what happens here. I do have American Airlines. I do have some travel companies in here, but CCL might not be one of the main lists today. Let's take a look at some of the stuff over on YouTube. What do we have? Let's start here with AMAT. AMAT is not looking good right now. The volume is not there, and also one of these stocks that are a little bit difficult to trade. They definitely need some kind of catalyst and movement. They don't trade well for the intraday, so I'm going to skip on that one. WKey. I think this is another one of these NFTs. Again, just be very careful, guys. I'm not going to look at this. I think we have some really good opportunities with other stocks that are moving well today. American Airlines Puppet Master, we do have. That looks good today. MRKR, what do we have here? No volume right now. Doesn't look good as far as the movement. So I don't like that one. Tesla is definitely very active, guys. You can definitely watch this one. I'm going to watch NEO. That's my EV play for today, but Tesla definitely active as well. Very similar to NEO type daily chart, right? You can see this pop here. We had this huge drop early March, and now we just we came back and now we're dropping again. NEO has the same similar thing. See here, this drop in early March, and now we're coming back up and dropping again. So I think they'll be trading similar. Tesla's getting interesting though, man, for the price that it's reaching right here, 600. Jared was talking a little bit about this earlier today. So we'll see. Nice to keep an eye on Tesla, see what happens there for longer term. All right, NEO is good. We have that one. That's good. Plug we do have. So you're asking, that's a good question. Do we think American Airlines and Plug will go up today? Well, we don't know. We really, really don't know. Anything can happen. No, I think you touched on this a little bit. You want to elaborate more?
Yeah, I mean, I think overall it's. I try not to predict that individual day on things like Plug. I mean, Plug has been in a bit of a downtrend recently. I don't see any specific. If there's a specific catalyst on something that's come out that morning, I might generate some sort of a thesis or a bias of how something is going to trade. I mean, that's essentially like anticipating a setup and then waiting for the setup to happen and taking a trade. But it's something like that is in whether it's an uptrend or a downtrend or a consolidation pattern on a daily, or it looks like it's going to break out on a daily. I'm not going to say it's going to go up or down that day until I see it starting to make that move and break that trend. So that's kind of what I meant, is I think Plug will give a nice bounce at some point. Hell, it might go to $10 before it bounces. What's it at 20, 30, around $30 today? You got to kind of wait for it to resolve. Frankly, the daily on Plug looks like it's going to break down, not up. But I think it'll come back in favor at some point. So that was what I meant by that.
Agree 100% with that as well. Then another question is in here is what do you think in general? Should we be conservative today? That's a great question. I mean, Jared touched on a lot on this early this morning. I personally, again, when the market is moving the way it is, there's a lot of opportunities for things to run like they did yesterday. So I won't be as conservative, but I won't be taking long position and forcing the market to do something that's not doing. That I'm not going to do. But I'm not going to be conservative because during this time when the market's moving like this, you can do really, really well, if you position yourself on the right side of things. So I don't think you have to be conservative. You just have to make sure you're not forcing something that's not happening, especially, this buying the dip mentality. Jared talked a lot about this. He gave great information. That thesis is kind of falling apart a little bit. So you don't want to put all your eggs in buying the dip, and you're bleeding out, as things find the bottom, right? So you got to be very, very careful with that buying the dip mentality,
What's concerning to me right now is what we mentioned at the start and Jared touched on, and that is The catalyst for the downtrend we started to see specifically in tech, which is a huge mover of the market, the catalyst for that was bond yields spiking, and they're pulling back. They pulled back pretty decently, and it's not giving any help to the tech sector, to the Qs. So that's got me a little concerned overall to get back to highs, but we'll see. I mean, I think it wouldn't surprise me to see a little bit of a correction in here. And then one more question that got asked that I wanted us to answer, and maybe you're the one that goes through the charts for everybody, so maybe you can explain it better than I can. But when it says when you do or don't like the daily, specifically, I would say when you don't like the daily on something, can you explain why you say that? Why you throw that out there?
Yeah, let's find a good example. I know we mentioned KO yesterday. This one is this one's okay. This worse. This was not as a great example, but let's talk about this. So on the daily, guys, we want to see some kind of movement right here in KO. What you're seeing here is two things, right? Every candle is overlapping the previous candle, so you're not getting great movement. Let's take one for example, Viacom. Okay, this one here, you had an amazing pop. See how great this daily looks, how things are connected. Now we know this stock is not a great intradating stock when on a normal basis because they have an incredible spread. They were great yesterday.
Been a little extraordinary. It's not been typical the last few days.
Right, it definitely has not been typical the last few days, and for the regular basis, not a great intraday trading stock. Yes, they did very well because of their catalyst. But what I like about this daily here, if you look at this, you see how this thing is moving here. See how great these levels are here. They're very, very clear, and you can see this area of resistance, and that later becomes the top of this drop here. So the cleaner your daily is, the better your levels are going to be, and usually the better the stock is going to trade. Let's look at NEO. Guys, this is a great daily. Look at the movement you're getting here. Right, this is a nice daily, right? So you want to see that. Look at the areas of support you're getting back and forth. I'm trying to find a bad one. American Airlines, it's okay. It's not bad. There's some bad ones out there. Let me see if we can find one here.
Also,
Bud. Yeah. This is a real.
So this is really common of a terrible. I mean, there's no real recognizable pattern in there, and then you'll notice these tiny candle bodies scattered all over the place. And that's that you'll see that a lot with foreign companies, which Bud is, and makes it very difficult to trade, kind of worthless. So there's a bunch of different reasons it could be bad. In general, we want to see nice volume, a good amount of volume, daily volume, and then you want to see clear, clean patterns. Minding moving averages, minding channel lines, things like that. So anyway.
Yeah, and just to add one more thing to this, there's stocks that we know have a horrible daily and they trade very, very well. If you look at Apple's daily is not all that great, right? You look at
it hasn't been recently. I mean,
it hasn't been, right?
Apple hasn't been a great trade. I mean, given there's some days in there, it's been all right.
Right.
But it's not been smooth since fourth quarter last year. I want to say, but it really hasn't gone anywhere either since.
Right. Exactly.
Hell, this thing really barely. It really hasn't changed in price much since it split. What was that in August?
Well, yeah, in August. Yeah, you're right. I mean, you're right. It's just kind of been going sideways.
Consolidation. It's essentially sideways since it split in August. Now that daily prior to that is a perfect example of a phenomenal daily. If you go back.
Oh right here. This is beautiful daily here. Daily action going on there.
You're moving up, and then you have a consolidation area, and then you break out from that, and then you continue to move up, and then you start to get in a chop. August, September, October. So there were some good trading days in there, but overall, anyway, we've spent enough time on that. We're behind now.
Yeah, absolutely. So hopefully that helped, guys. Let's get over to I think we're going to stop here. We got a pretty good list so far. Let's get over to our announcements, our community events, and we'll come back and fine tune this list.
All right, guys. Eamon's webinar and entries, partials, and exits, and when to throw in the towel, that is posted for your viewing pleasure if you were unable to make it. Next week, Mike, 8 p.m. Eastern, going to be talking about, thinking on when to go live. If you need to take a break, you need to go back to simulator because you're having a rough time, when you might consider doing that. So that'll be next week, Tuesday, 8 p.m. Town Hall with Dr. Katz posted as well. And then next week, it's the week of Mike. Wednesday night, 8 p.m., he's going to be doing his Module 1, Defining Yourself as a Trader. If you're looking to participate in the member trade of the day, trade of the week, take a screenshot of your best trade of the day. It should have entries and exits, of course, and then put any commentary on the strategy and explain the trade. Post it on Twitter, tagging at Bearable Traders, at Mike_BBT, and at NormBBT. Also use hashtags BBT Family. Day Trading Stock Market will announce the winner for the trade of the day each day in the closing bell show and on Twitter. And then all the trades of the day are eligible for the trade of the week, which will be voted on by the team over the weekend and announced on Monday in the closing bell show on Twitter as well. If you're watching us on YouTube and haven't been in the chat room, you'd like to give it a try, you can do so with the intro membership. That is 7 calendar days, 5 trading days, does not auto-renew, does not turn into anything else. It just ends after the 7 calendar days. It'll also give you access to the onboarding class we do every Monday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. Mike and Carlos go through that. And then immediately following that is Kyle's tech webinar that's also available for intro members. The St. Patrick's promotion still ongoing. Use the promo code LUCK40 to get 40% off the annual elite membership.
All right, thank you, Norm. All right, guys, let's get to it. Let's finalize this list here, starting with, there we go, starting with CAN. So right now, CAN, guys, beautiful pre-market action after a massive red day yesterday. And aside from yesterday, they've been having a pretty hard time. Look at a couple of days here. It's just dropping down nicely on this Bitcoin play. So I'll be watching this one. That looks good. PLTR, yeah, PLTR looks so clean today. 2.5 in the pre-market. How did it do yesterday? Let's take a look. Yesterday, actually not bad. We can't give it too much credit because a lot of stocks did what it did here. So not too bad here towards the drop. Let's see what happens today. But pre-market wise and the numbers, everything looking very, very good. Their daily also looking very nice. What I mean by that, guys, look how we're getting a nice little range here. We also have a nice level down here that we can get to 2017. We'll mark it down since we're talking about it now. So yeah, that could be, we're leaving this chop fest that we had here a couple of days ago. It wasn't trading well a couple of weeks ago, actually. Let's see if today that continues like it did yesterday. Here's NEO. I do like NEO as well. Nice daily, beautiful drop here, comes back up. And now we're dropping again after a massive red day yesterday. American Airlines, what I like about it this morning is the drop of this level here. The previous area of resistance, I can now, obviously we lost that support. Was support, now we lost it. And then we have a level here on the daily as well from this consolidation we had a couple of weeks back between February and March. So that's looking interesting. And obviously the market pushing things down further. That could be a lot of fun. American Airlines could trade very well. Here's Plug. Plug looks good too, guys. I love this drop here. We're right below a great area of support. And Billy also looking very good this morning as well as far as the movement and volume right now. So pretty good list. Let's do some levels. CAN, starting with that one. I like this one from the Bitcoin play because we do have shares for short. It is on short selling restriction, but we could still trade it here with sitting on the ask and getting filled. So low of the pre-market 1570 towards the bottom. We do have a nice level here over at 1440. So I'm going to drop that there. And then below that, we have another one here at 1329. So plenty of levels towards the bottom there, guys. Towards the top, pre-market highs for the last two trading, highs and lows from the last two trading days and the previous day close, which is a great area of support that we had here in the past. So interesting stuff there. Aside from that, I don't think you need to add anything more. PLTR, we'll give this a shot today. High of the pre-market 22.39, low of the pre-market 21.02. So we'll throw some levels there as well. And then we just had this level we were talking about earlier on PLTR 2017. So that looks pretty decent this morning. Above the pre-market highs, you have your highs and lows from the last two trading days. So pretty good action on PLTR this morning, guys. Great volume, down 3.1 at 2.6. We know this thing could be very, very choppy. Today, the pre-market action looking very amazing. So let's see if that can continue into the intraday trading, into the market open. Here's NEO, low of the pre-market. This will be my EV play. You can look at other things like XPEV. There's some other ones on there. Is LI the other one? I believe it is. I believe this is another one as well. Again, doesn't look as clean with much volume. Yes, I'm going to go with NEO, but you can look at some of the other EVs are trading very similar. For example, if you like trading Tesla, Tesla looks very good today. Has this similar daily as well as NEO. It has great volume too, so you can look at that one also. So 34.58, low of the pre-market. Towards the bottom, we do have 31.96, so we'll throw a level there as well. Above, towards the top, the pre-market low, pretty close to the previous day close, your pre-market high is going to be 37.65. But be on the lookout for this pre-market close level here at 36.96. That's going to be an important one there. Around the price action now towards the top, we do have the highs and lows from the last 2 trading days. I do not think you need to add anything more. Now, we had a big drop yesterday, and in here, there's really not a great area. Yeah, it's not a great. I like this one here, actually. This is not a major level of support or resistance, because if you look at this one, guys, for example, 41.21, see how great that level is? Tons of touches here, right in this area as well. Over here, some more resistance and support, more support, and then here the support breakdown. So 41.925, great area there. You want to have that on your list. But here 39.36, you do have this day closing on here. This day is the high of this one, the high of this one as well. So you got a couple of touches here on these 3 days at 39.36. I'm going to keep that on there as an area just in case this thing does decide to go green today, which is not looking like it this morning, but who knows, anything is possible. American Airlines continues to drop here. We're putting a level towards 21 at the moment, 21.03 low of the pre-market. Below that, we do have this support that we've been having here between when this thing was consolidated between a couple of days in here back and forth, 20.48. So we'll throw a level there, and then towards the bottom all the way down here at 18.99. So again, big couple of red days for American Airlines this morning. Definitely looking forward to that. And then towards the top, guys, highs and lows, previous day close, got you covered. If you want, you can mark down the high of the pre-market sitting at 22.40. We'll throw a level there on that one, 22.40. There we go. All right, excellent. Here is plug, guys. Also looking very good. Continues to drop nicely here, down 6.3. 31.02 is the low of the pre-market at the moment. The high of the pre-market sitting at 34.50. So we'll throw a level there as well. Towards the top, guys, highs and lows from the last 2 trading days. You're pretty much covered there. And then if we were to continue to, wow, this is a good pre-market low right here, 31.02. If you zoom into that December time frame, look at the area of support you're getting here on that 31.05. 31.02, excuse me. So that is pretty nice there. Let's see if we can lose that, if that is what is in the books for today. And then 29.09, another area of the daily here. Look at this great. So if you look at this daily, again, in the topics of great day, look how great this thing is moving. You see the up and down here nicely. Well, that's created some good levels of support and resistance, because you have your 29 here. That becomes an area of resistance, more resistance. And then we see this move quite a bit, right? The breakout, once you break out of that, you can see a nice push up right out of that 29.09 level. So that's what you're looking at. When you have clean levels like that, it helps you to find your daily levels better. And also when things get to that level, you can have some pretty good movement one way or the other. So that is good. Here's Billy bouncing back from pre-market lows of 90.03 level there towards the bottom. What do we have here? We're coming back to some December time frame here. So let's go back and look at a level here, 85.18. 85.31. And then down here, great area of support at 79.02. And now towards the top, guys, look at this again. Look at that beautiful day. Again, a lot of stuff had a great daily pattern between November and December, which is, again, talking about this, how clean that is. Then from here it gets a little bit wacky, but look how beautiful that daily is. And look how these levels are playing nicely. So towards the bottom, 85.31, 79.02. And then towards the top, previous day close, high of the pre-market slightly above that, just like plug a little bit, 97.62. And then above that, you have your highs and lows all the way up here after a massive red day yesterday. So nice big gap up here. I don't think we're pushing up high, just not right away at the open. But I'm going to mark down 102.09 just as a possible. I'm not going to put too much weight on that level, but you want to have something in between here. That's a big gap to go against if this thing does decide to recover, which is going to be tough for Billy because they do have a negative catalyst, as Nora mentioned earlier today. All right, that is our watch list, guys. Let's take a look at what our moderators have this morning. Fabio is saying, I think eventually NASDAQ will recover, but hard. Yeah, I agree. If you go back, if you go back years on years on years, it will recover. It's just, when. It's just a matter of time, right? What you do not want to do, as I mentioned earlier, is, be in a position where as it's trying to recover, you're holding on to all these long positions or have a long bias and you're getting hammered on the way down, right? So you don't want to do that, especially as a day trader. That's the great thing about being a day trader. You look at what's in front of you right now today, and you act on that, right? Tomorrow, we're not going to worry about tomorrow. We're not going to worry about the next week. It's just today, right now, at the moment, what's happening. read the price action, and take advantage of what's happening right now. Thor, let's look at his list. Well, let's bring this over. Let's bring this right over here. Get our visuals in place. You guys should be able to see that. There we go. All right, so Thor, he's watching NEO, CCL, INTC, secondary list ARD, VIAC. John is looking at Tesla, FUTU, Baidu, and also trying some low risk LOD breakdowns on his playbook today. Mike is looking at BA and Nike. Peter, IPOs for today: LV, TX, VZIO, CRCT, and then we also have some holding companies: OLK, DS. EY, and also SEMR. Dima, she is looking at the Qs and the VIX this morning. AMD, NEO, if the market starts to move up. Peter is looking at AMD, CCL. Secondary list is PLTR, NEO, Apple, and Nike. Tiffany is looking at PLTR, NEO. Secondary list Tesla, American Airlines, and Nike as well. Aim horrible markets. A watch list CGC, WFC, Workhorse. Secondary list BAC and American Airlines. Brian, he's looking at Billy, one of his old-time buddies there. Brian loves trading Billy. Disca, CCL, BA, and a CYTH. And Andrew's looking at the EV sector, NEO, Plug, and Tesla. Again, all of these looking really good this morning, guys. Travel sector, CCL and American Airlines, and the goods sector, CGC and APHA. I didn't look at any of the goods sector. Let's look at the well-being CGC. What do we have going on? They're down nice today, 4.2. Volume starting to pick up on CGC, only 60,000 at the moment. Is there any news aside from just overall dropping?
New York passing its or has a weed law that they've got ready to go. I think is the main main deal there.
Okay, is it good or bad? The actual law, is it
Well, I don't live in New York, so I don't.
I'm gonna have to cross the bridge.
Doesn't affect me. No, I think no. I mean, I think they're legalizing weed. They've got a. Yeah, I guess it depends on your definition of good and bad. I haven't read the bill. I have no idea. I just know it's legalization of weed.
Got it. Okay, excellent. All right, guys. Perfect. That is what we have, guys. CAN. Looking very good. PLTR, very nice. NEO, again, American Airlines, Plug, and Billy. All looking very decent this morning. Again, guys, just trade what's happening.
Tony O is suggesting LSD energy drinks. I don't even know what that would do.
I don't even want to find out what a drink like that will do.
You jump out of a window further when you have a bad trip. I don't know what happens.
Alcohol is enough. Alcohol is enough. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining the pre-market show over on YouTube. We really appreciate you guys spending the morning with us. Starting with Jared and engineering the markets, and then with Norm and I for the pre-market prep. So take care, trade safe. Andrew and Brian are up next, going to their list and what they like this morning, kind of break things down a little bit. If you want to check us out, you can do so with a discount code pre-market24. Make sure you hit that thumbs up, and we will see you tomorrow. Take care, guys.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day.